Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Alan. I hope you're having a fantastic day. If not, maybe your day will get a little brighter after this. Okay, so in my last video, we talked about the necessary connections you need to make for your Motorola XTL series radio. I didn't get too many questions over that, so I think we can move on from there. This video is going to be programming based. And what we're going to cover here is the bare minimum that you need to do to get your XTL series radio on the air. From setting up your personality, entering your frequency, is it going to be simplex or duplex, for a repeater, or is it going to be receive only? Is it going to be digital or analog? So, like I said, there's probably going to be a lot to this. I'm going to try and cover what's needed. Keep in mind, this is a public safety grade piece of equipment, so there are a lot of settings and menu items that you can go into and set up in here. And along with that, if you've bought your radio used, which I'm sure you have, it may already come programmed. If you bought your radio from eBay, it's going to come. It probably will come with a channel, or in some cases, it may come fully programmed for whatever department this radio came from. Okay, so it is incumbent upon you to take a little bit of responsibility to make sure that you get rid of all those frequencies that are in there, because you want to make sure that you're legal, right? Listening is fine, but we don't want to be transmitting on anything we shouldn't be. So just be forewarned. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, now we've got our radio connected to power. If you're not sure how to do that, I have a video explaining how to do that. Okay, biggest thing to remember here is you want to have a very reliable power supply. You do not want your radio turning off during a reading or writing event, as you could cause some serious shenanigans with that. So, okay, this is the programming cable that I use. Okay, this is the guy, got it from on eBay. Fantastic guy to work with. I don't have hardly any issues with this cable. It's pretty reliable. So you'll do just fine using this for the XTL 2500. So, I mean, you can use the Motorola one too. It's a bit more expensive. Honestly, though, this one works just fine. Okay, now we've got our USB cable. Obviously, you connect it to your computer by USB. This connector goes and connects to the port where your microphone connects to. So you're going to disconnect your microphone. You're going to connect this cable, and you're going to turn on your radio. Now you can see in the lower right of your screen, my radio is turned on. My programming cable is connected. And so we're going to go ahead and open up our CPS. Now, this is Astro 25 mobile CPS. There's a couple different versions. There's a portable version. Okay, so that portable version won't work for the mobiles, obviously. You have to have the mobile set up. In this case, I'm using R20.01.00. These are the radios that it supports. If you do not see your radio listed here, it most likely will not work. It may, but most likely it won't. Okay, where do you get this software? You can pretty much download it for free off the internet. There's a bunch of different places you can go to get it. A quick Google search will get you there. There's a multiple different ways to get it. The biggest thing to remember about that is don't go to like web forums like Radio Reference or Batboard or stuff like that, because you will be accosted for asking for software. It's a real sensitive subject for them. For the most part, I'll go to forums and read. I usually don't interact, because most of the time what you're going to find on those forums is some very hostile people. So just do your best to avoid the forums or interacting with them, I guess. Reading is fine. I wouldn't interact with them. Okay, our radio's connected. We're ready to begin. We're going to go up here in the upper left. We're going to click Read Device. If you get an error that your radio is not detected, you can go up into View and Options, and you can change your port selections and stuff here until you get it to work. Sometimes you may have to power cycle your radio. It's kind of the nature of the beast, especially after you program. Once you program it, you may have to power cycle your radio or disconnect and reconnect to get it to recommunicate. So we're going to push this button, and what you're going to see is down here in the lower left, you're going to see a progress bar, and at the same time your radio will beep and it will say program mode on the display. We're going to push the button. Here's our progress bar. The radio just beeped, and now you can see it says program mode. So it's going to read the radio, the information that's already in there, and then the radio is going to reboot. Okay, so don't worry about it. Let it reboot. Don't touch it. Okay, read radio fail. Okay, so let's just try it again and see what happens. Okay, open radio. So let's wait for the radio to come back up. Okay, the radio's come back up. Let's try it again. Okay, program mode. We're reading the radio. We'll see if it makes it all the way through this time. Oh, the suspense is killing me. Okay, we've made it. The radio is now restarting. Here's our tree view. If this is the first time you've opened this up, you're going to get some pop-ups. You can go ahead and just go ahead, read the pop-ups, and then there's one that says, I think it's at the lower right, you can start using CPS. There's also a box that you can check to not show that on startup. But anyway, I'm going to try and keep this as brief as possible. I don't want this video to get too in-depth and overwhelm you, so I might speak a little quickly. Feel free to go back and re-listen to, or drop down in the comment section, shoot me a question. I'm more than happy to answer. Okay, so the radio's come back up. We see our tree view here. Before you touch anything else, you go up to File, Save As. I have this set to go to my desktop. We're going to rename this Test, and then I'm going to hit Save. Okay, so now I have a backup of this. Should things go horribly pear-shaped, we can reload that backup and come back from it. Okay, barring some sort of like firmware corruption. You know, if you lose power during a program while you're programming or something like that, that's going to be a bit tougher to come back from. Okay, now we're going to go through this as if we're going to program a single analog channel to this radio. So no digital, nothing like that yet, just a single transmit receive analog channel. Now, when you first get your radio, you're probably going to, you most likely have gotten it from somebody else or eBay or whatever. So the radio's already been used, so it's probably going to have stuff already in it. At which point you can just kind of edit as you need to edit. What I like to do in that case is I'll go through and just delete everything that I don't need and start fresh. But that is entirely up to you. So let's go ahead and maximize this window. Our radio information, basically in here, all we're going to find is the radio name and the feature set that we're looking for. So the big things that let's just go ahead and open this up. Feature set. These are the features that this radio is equipped with. Okay. Astro. Astro is a term you're going to hear with Motorola. It just means digital. All radios are the base models are analog. So anything above and beyond that will show up here as an option. The Astro digital operation is probably the most useful one out of all of these. Okay, so we don't need to worry about anything else here. We can come down to the lower left and click close. This won't close the entire program. It will just close this window that we opened. Remember, we maximized that little window, the tree view. We maximized the tree view, and that's what we're looking at now is the tree view. Okay, radio configuration, radio wide. These are global settings for the radio. We don't need to be too concerned with these right now, apart from probably, depending on how your radio was set up to begin with, they may have been running with multiple control heads. which is pretty common in fire trucks and or ambulances. You just want to come in here and make sure that this box is unchecked, and this one is checked. Control head required for power up. That we don't have spurious power-ons from your equipment. The other thing to check is your transmit power level. As you'll see later, we will set this up to be able to change between high and low power. If you look down in the lower right, you see those 5 buttons at the bottom with the green dots. Those are our soft buttons. Okay, the one on the left says power above it, or PWR. That allows us to switch between high and low power. Okay, so here is the power levels in watts for those 2 levels. So low power is 35 watts. High power is 110 watts. Okay, so that's one of the advantages of running a public safety grade piece of equipment, is we get 110 watts of output power. And that's 110 watts reliable output power, continuous output power. So that's a pretty big benefit here. Timeout timer is another good one. So we have our 4 timeout timer numbers and the seconds allocated to them. You'll see this pop up a little bit later. These are where you can change the individual numbers behind them. Okay. So that's really all we need to worry about this right now. Controls will be the next one. We're going to go ahead and expand controls. Control head. Okay. So the orange button, it's kind of just off screen in the lower right there, but there's an orange button in the upper right of the control head. That's the emergency button. Typically, I will set that to blank. You can set that to a bunch of other things if you want, but it's just one button, right? So unless you're going to set it to like scan on or off or emergency, or be able to cycle between high or low power, that's really about all you're going to be able to do with it. It's going to be useful anyway. These are soft buttons here. You don't program them from here. This is just a representation of what your control head button configuration looks like. Okay, so we're done in here. What's next? So if you have the standard mic, the basic mic, you don't need to worry about this one. In this case, I have the DTMF mic, which has the buttons and stuff on it, and 3 buttons on the side. You would come in here, and this is where you would program what those buttons do. Okay, so I've got 3 buttons on the left side of my mic. So I have it set up to turn scan on and off, and then my zone up and down. Now zone, as we'll see a little bit later, a zone is just a grouping of channels. So I can switch between groups of channels, basically. And then you have your rotary knob on the front of the radio to switch between individual channels. And of course, this is completely programmable. So if you want to switch through individual channels, you can do that. Like you can set this be zone up and then your channel up and down, so you can control everything right from the mic. Okay, ignore trunking and data. Most of the time we're not going to worry about that, especially for amateur radio. Doesn't matter. Okay, we don't need to worry about any of these. Display and menu. Oops, sorry, I bumped the mic there. So on the control head where you see main and unsecured repeater, in CPS, this text configuration, channel text size, and zone text size. That's how you're going to set the size of those letters right there. Okay, so the reason why I'm bringing this up during a basic programming is sometimes you're going to get a radio and you won't see like the zone channel, the zone assignment, or you might not see the channel assignment because someone set this text size to 0. Okay, so make sure it's something other than 0 for that to show up. Okay, menu items. So our soft buttons, we just went over power, scan, color, and monitor. This is where you set those up. We have available menu items over here. We have selected ones over here. So left to right on the control head is equivalent to top to bottom in the selected items here. Okay. So let's just let's find one that we can add. Let's see. I already have power, scan, and color, and monitor. What else do I want to have in here? Let's do squelch level. Okay, so I've added squelch. I highlighted it, I clicked add, and now you see it over here in the selected items. I can move it up or down if I want to. I want it all the way at the bottom, which means it will be furthest to the right on my display. Okay. Again, don't worry about trunking. So those are our soft buttons set up. Backlight color, you don't need to worry about this because I have configured as a soft button my color. I can change it from the front panel. If I didn't have that set up, I could set this up as whatever color I want, and then it would just stay that color, right? Okay. We don't need to worry about anything else in here right now. So let's move on. We don't need to worry about anything here. Okay, conventional. We're going to go ahead and expand conventional. We don't need to worry about conventional configuration just yet. The first thing out of this group we're going to be concerned with is conventional personality. So let's expand that. We see we have personality number 1. Let's go ahead and open that. Okay, what is a personality? A personality is kind of what it sounds like, right? This is going to control whether or not your channel is receive only, receive and transmit, whether it's analog only, digital only, or digital and analog, right? And a bunch of other things. That's all controlled through here, right? So if we wanted this to be receive only, we would check this box. Typically, I would do this like if I was going to set up a group of channels for the NOAA weather stations, right? Receive only, because I don't want to transmit by accident on there. So I would check that. That means that when I'm in that when I'm using a channel that has this personality assigned to it, I cannot transmit. It's a very useful feature. Okay. Now we have non-astro selected here. So that means analog, right? I can do mixed mode, which is analog and digital. Or I should say analog or digital, depending on what the radio hears on that frequency. So let's say you're on, 440.0 and someone keys up in a digital P25 mode. Okay, it's going to open up as P25. If it's analog, it's going to open up as analog, right? Or we can do astro or digital only. So like I said, we want an analog channel, so we're going to select non-astro. We're going to come over to our TX options. We're going to verify that this does say non-astro. And you can see now the little sunglasses there. It means I can't change it because I have non-astro selected in the receive options. Timeout timer. Now remember, I just went through, I showed you where you can change these 4 settings here for your exact seconds. Number 1 said infinite. I usually leave it set at 30 seconds. This is the default setting. 30 seconds is plenty of time. You shouldn't be rambling on longer than 30 seconds, tying up a repeater, etc., etc. 30 seconds is fine. Change it to whatever you want, though. Your default power level. So when you turn on your radio and when it comes up on this channel, it's going to default to whatever this is set to, high or low power. Unless, of course, you have the, if you're using ignition sense and you have your soft button set up and you had it set to low power and you turn your ignition off and then back on, it'll come back up to where the last state was, right? But this is just the default. The first time you enter that channel, what power level it's going to be on. I just leave it on high because I have the soft button programmed, right? Okay. Realistically, that's all you have to worry about here for a standard analog channel. There's a bunch of other stuff. Don't get overwhelmed with it. The scan list is the only other thing you may want to look into if you want to set up a scan list. There's a separate area where you set up what channels are in each scan list. So you can have multiple scan lists, right? And so this is the person, like I said, we're in a personality, so we can assign a scan list to this personality. Right now, I only have one scan list set up, so it only lists one, right? So if I had multiple scan lists, I would see the rest here. So right now, we're just going to leave it selected to 1. Okay, so this personality will be associated with scan list 1. I promise this will all start to come together here in a second. So I know this is a lot to take in, and I'm going kind of fast, but Just, try not to get overwhelmed. Remember, you can always go back and rewatch it and rewatch it and rewatch it if you want. Drop a comment. I'm more than happy to help. The only stupid question is the unasked question, right? So you don't know what you don't know, right? So don't worry about it. We all had to learn at some point. The rest of the stuff, like you said, we're not going to worry about, right? Okay. Now, if you wanted to add another personality, you would just come down here and push the little plus button, right? You could insert a personality in between already existing personalities if you had more than one. You can also group add if you want to. Okay, so those are more advanced things if you want. So right now we're not going to worry about that. So that's our personality set. We don't have to worry about anything else there. We're good to go. Okay, the next thing we need to worry about is zone channel assignment. Now, I know you see scan here. Okay, we'll get back to that. We're going to ignore trunking because this is amateur radio. We're likely not going to do anything with trunking. Same thing with Astro. Okay, we're setting up an analog channel only right now. So we're going to come into zone channel assignment. You can see there's one zone channel assignment already in here. As I said, a zone is a grouping of channels. So when we open this up, we're going to see this is the name of the zone, and I have it set to main right now. And if you look over at the lower right of your screen at the front of the control head, it says main at the top of it. Okay, so that's telling you what zone we're in right now. If I had multiple zones, we could cycle through them down here at the bottom with these arrow keys. Okay, we only have one because I said we're doing this the bare minimum, right? So we have one zone. If we wanted to add, we can push the plus button, add one, etc., etc. It's the same as the personalities, right? We can name it whatever we want here. Like I said, I have main. That's what you will see on your control head. Now, what channels are in this zone? We click on our channels tab up here at the top, and you can see unsecure repeater, or RPT, is channel 1, okay? And that's what we see in the front of our display right now because that's the only channel that's in here. Now, I have this connected to a dummy load, and I, messing around with it with an FRS radio. So I have an FRS channel plugged into here. And you can see there's an offset. So we're working through a repeater. So let's go ahead. Let's add a simplex channel to it so we can walk you through that process. So we're going to come down here, or sorry. This is so let's say you're in here, you're adding channels. You can still come down here and add another zone if you want to, okay? But working inside this zone, this main zone, we can come up here. We can add. We're going to add a channel, okay? So now we see channel 2 has been added. So let's rename channel 2. What do we want to name it? Let's just name it. My caps lock is on. Okay, standing wave. Okay, that's our channel name. Personality type, conventional trunking. We're not worrying about trunking, conventional only. Personality number, okay. Now, like I said, this is what we were talking about. The personality controls different settings of your channels. We only have one personality right now, okay. So that was an analog transmit and receive personality. If you had other personalities, say a receive only one, your other personality options would show up here. You can have multiple channels in a group, and you can have different personalities assigned to those channels. You don't have to have the same personality to every channel in that group, okay? So that's why you get an immense amount of flexibility here, okay? So we're going to keep it on personality 1. We're going to now move down to our receive frequency. Okay, so this is the frequency that the radio is receiving on. Okay, 403.0250. Okay, we're going into a dummy load, so we're not going to mess with this right now. Receive squelch type. Okay, so right now it's set on carrier squelch. This just means once the signal strength gets above a certain point, the squelch will open and open up the audio. As you can see, we can change that between carrier squelch, PL, or the moto-specific stuff. Okay. So if you have a PL tone, you can set that to PL tone here. and you can adjust your specific tone here. Okay, you just scroll through whatever tone you want, and let's say you want it 123.0. Okay, there's our 123.0. Receive PL code. This is a Moto. I don't know if it's Moto specific, but this is the code Moto uses. Some other radios, you're going to set your PL tone only with that code. So you sometimes you'll need a matrix sheet to tell you what frequency tone is what code. Fortunately, here they've broken it out for us. Okay. So that's our receive frequency. Our transmit frequency. Now you see our transmit frequency is the same as our receive frequency. Okay, so this is a simplex channel. If you wanted, so this my channel 1 unsecured repeater, you see it's going through a repeater, so we have our receive frequency, which is different from our transmit frequency, like you would expect using a repeater. Okay. So I need to scroll here. We're going to scroll over a little bit. Okay. Transmit frequency, we're going to do simplex, so we're going to leave that the same. Transmit squelch, we're going to leave that turned off, so we're not going to transmit a PL tone. Okay. Actually, you know what? Since it's a simplex, it's probably a good idea to turn that on. We're going to set it to 123, just like the other one, just like I receive. Okay. So now we have a PL of 123 receive, PL of 123 transmit. Okay. So how wide is our signal? We have it set to 5 kilohertz right now. Typically in amateur radio, that's acceptable. Usually I'll set mine to 2.5. As you can see, this top channel was already set to 2.5. It's just personal preference. And that's it. You're done as far as programming a frequency into your, setting up a frequency, right? Okay, setting up a channel. That's it. That's all you need to do to this. There's some talk around stuff, like if you're in a repeater, you can do talk around things like that, okay? But right now, we don't need to worry about that. So our channel is in, right? So as I said, we're done here. We've added that channel. So we're going to go ahead and click close. If you wanted to add more channels, you would simply just come up here at the top here, where my mouse is, and you just keep pushing this plus button and keep adding channels as needed. Okay. So now we have 2 channels in our main zone. Okay. So if we go back to our zone tab, you see we're still in main. Let's go ahead and close this. We have 1 zone channel assignment, main, okay, with 2 channels within it. So now let's go to scan, okay? And within scan, we're going to go to scan list 1. We're going to open that up. Okay, so under the general tab, scan type, leave it at conventional for now, okay? There's some other more advanced features that we can set up later, but we're not going to do that right now. List. Okay, here are the channels that you want to put into your scan list. Okay. Now remember, in our personality, we selected scan list 1 associated with that personality. So any channels that we put into scan list 1 are going to be associated with that personality. So we're going to select our zone. And so our first zone, zone 1, as you can see, zone text was main. And you see our channel is now red because we have not assigned a channel yet. So we're gonna click our drop down, and we're gonna select channel 1, and then we're gonna add another channel. So we're gonna add our zone. We're gonna add our channel 2. Okay, so there's our 2 channels that we had in that zone. Now you can take any channel from any zone and add it to a scan list, right? Just by changing the zone and the channel, etc. So there's a lot of power. A lot of flexibility with this scan functionality. And when we get into more advanced stuff, you'll see just how much we can really do with this. So as far as basic, let's get on the air with a couple channels and a scan list. We're done. We're absolutely done. Okay, we've got our scan list. We're going to hit close. We are now done. We're ready to program our radio. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to come up to File. We're gonna save as. Okay, now we're gonna change the name to test-1, just so we don't overwrite our previously saved file. We hit save. Now we're going to come up here, write device. When we click this, it's going to be the same thing as what we saw with read. The radio is going to beep, and it's going to go into program mode, and we're going to write the radio. It's very important not to touch anything right now, because if the radio power cycles or anything, we're going to be in a world of shenanigans, we'll say. Okay, so, excuse me. We're going to push right. The radio is now beeped. It says program mode. We see our progress bar at the bottom. This is writing device. We're going to let it do its thing. And once the radio comes back up, you're going to see our new settings will have been applied. It says write successful. We click OK. Then we're going to watch our control head. When the radio comes back up, we see main, unsecure repeater. Now you notice that we added on the far right that soft button, which is now there. Okay, our squelch level. Okay, so let's go ahead and just make sure our channel is there. So I'm going to go over here and turn our channel knob. Okay, you see our channel knob is there, or our new channel is there. We're still in main, and that's it. We're done. You've programmed your radio. So it really is just that easy. I know it seems overwhelming because there's a lot of other features and functions in there that you might not necessarily understand right now. And I would wager to bet about 60% of them we're never going to use in the amateur radio world, right? So there's a lot of power here, a lot of flexibility here. This is why I like using commercial and public safety grade equipment, because you get a lot more functionality and a lot more features than you would get with the quote unquote amateur radio grade stuff, right? The radio is now programmed. We can disconnect our program cable, reconnect our microphone, and we're ready to go on our merry way. So congratulations. You have programmed your XTL 2500, and you're ready to burn up the airwaves. So like I said, adding additional zones, adding additional channels, it's just iterative of the same process, just kind of a repeat. Once you do it a few times, you'll start to get the hang of it. It's really quite easy, right? So in the next episode, we'll go a little bit further into some of these settings, and we'll have a bit more fun. I think next time we're probably going to go into the scanning functionality and what we can do with scanning in different zones and different personalities, and have a bit more fun with that. So again, thank you for watching. Like I said, if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to put them down in that comment section. The only stupid question is the unasked question, right? This place isn't going to be like all the other forums where you're going to be accosted for asking a question or whatever. Don't worry about it, okay? You don't know what you don't know, right? You can't be faulted for that. The only thing I would caution on is, kind of make sure you've done your due diligence. You've explored your options, right? I'm more than happy to help someone who wants to learn. But if you don't want to learn, then, it's kind of on you. So, again, I'm hoping you have a fantastic day. It's always great seeing you guys back here. Let's get this equipment on the air. Let's save it from going into the scrap piles and e-waste and etc. Let's have some fun with it. Let's advance the amateur radio hobby and the radio art with this equipment, because there really is a lot of flexibility and a lot of power here. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up, share the video, whatever, you know the drill. And just remember, everyone's fighting a battle you don't know anything about, so be kind, all right? This is Alan, N0ZFG, out.